Hello, good evening, everyone. Welcome to episode 9 of the Wulong Talks podcast. As always, I'm your host, Jason. And today, as usual, I'm joined by the crew, the Mank Geek, Big A. Alvin, say what's up, man.
Evening, people.
And when Richard's finished rearranging his room, he will be with us. Richard, you're there, aren't you? I'm joking.
I'm there, man. Hey, guys. Hey, what's happening?
Well, we're kind of excited because today's podcast is going to be very, very special. We're discussing a show that I think it's fair to say we've all been waiting for quite a while. And we're going to get right down into Luke Cage tonight. We're going to break it down to little bits and pieces. And we're absolutely going to let you know why this is one of the best shows we've seen in a while. Well, I feel that way anyway. Not sure how the other guys feel, but you'll find out soon enough. But yeah, let's start off quickly with some introductions and some catch-ups because it's been a little while since we've done a podcast. For those of you who follow us regularly, apologies. I'll explain why that's been. But first of all, Albert, what have you been up to, man? Have you been enjoying anything geeky over the past 2 or 3 weeks since we've been off?
You know what? I can't even remember as to kind of what's gone down in the last few weeks. I can't even think of anything, barely. But yeah, just the usual shit. You know, it's comic books and all that kind of business, and obviously the Comic-Con stuff as well, which we'll talk about in a moment, I reckon. But yeah, now apart from that, everything's cushy, but nothing stands out.
Cool. Yeah, there's a lot of New York Comic Con stuff that we need to go through, so we'll get through that shortly. Rich, anything you've been up to? Any comics you've been reading over the last couple of weeks?
Nothing new at the moment. I think I've missed the past 2 weeks for my normal pickup, but there's nothing really major has been out. I mean, one of the comics I am really looking forward to go and get. The first issue came out, I think, a week ago. It was by the artist Frank Cho. And it's his own comic book, and it's I think called Skyborn. And anybody who doesn't know who Frank Cho is, he's like he's worked for Marvel, he's worked for Image, he's worked for DC, and he's known for what's his own comic book called? I think Aches and Babes. He's known for drawing like really muscular men and quite full-figured women, which some people don't agree with. But I think as long as it's done in good taste, then there's nothing to actually argue about. But that's the only thing I've been meaning to get. I recently restarted the Immortal Iron Fist, Matt Fraction and David Aja run. Is Aja? Was it Aja? How is it? How is his surname pronounced? Does anybody know?
I think it's Aja.
Aja.
Yeah,
like the 80s band. Okay. So David Aja. Yeah, so I went back to their run that they did on Iron Fist. And yeah, and that's it really. And obviously NYCC, like we've all said, we'll be touching on that in a few moments, man. So we're being pretty quiet on my end, to tell the truth.
Cool. You're right there?
You talk to me?
Yeah. It just sounds like you fell down or something.
Sounds like a what?
You fell down.
I fell down.
Yeah. Your microphone just went
No.
like you just dropped something.
Listen, let me tell you, I didn't fall down nothing. I've got the agility of Spider-Man, Peter Parker. I didn't fall down nowhere. Yeah.
What a shame you don't have the tech skills of Tony Stark, eh? Oh, well, speaking of tech skills, we've had no internet at home for quite a while, thanks to Sky. Thank you, Sky. So that's why we didn't put out a Wulong Talks podcast last week when Luke Cage had actually been released. So yeah, I kind of descended back into my hunter-gatherer phase and started picking up a few books that I hadn't read in a while. I saw loads of posts about New York Comic Con and loads of people getting excited about trailers. I couldn't watch any of them. And so I basically just hated the world for a week and a bit. But yeah, I did some reading. I've been trying to quit smoking as well, which is going nicely. So yeah, it's been all good. Fun times, man. You really don't realize how much you miss the internet in your life until like something like this happens, and then you realize you can't do a damn thing because there's just no internet. So yeah, it's a bit of a headache, but there you go. That was me. Anyway, as we mentioned earlier, New York Comic Con was on last week. Was it last week it finished, guys? It was last weekend, right?
The weekend,
Okay.
Yeah, we can just gone.
Cool. So yeah, we New York Comic Con finished, and there was a whole heap of stuff that got released in terms of trailers and footage and news. So we'll quickly run through some of the highlights from that. First of all, I think we've got to start with a character that Richard is. Well, if you know Richard, then you know this character really needs no introduction in terms of him. But we all got our first official trailer for the Marvel Netflix TV series Iron Fist. So it was really a chance for us to get a much closer look at what Finn Jones was like in the role of Danny Rand, Iron Fist, and to give us a sense of the tone and the visual style that they've gone for the series. Alvin, did you catch the trailer? What did you think of it when you saw it?
Yeah, I caught the trailer. To be honest, we get flashes of a lot of things, and it looks like it's going to be very fighty. And I'm actually obviously quite looking forward to all the martial arts and that. But the one thing that stood out for me is that Marvel have this weird knack of being able to represent things from the comics in a different way in live action, which is still true to the comics. So like when you see Danny's hand kind of light up, glow, shocked at A, how good it looked, and B, that it makes complete sense and still fits in with how we see Danny using his fists in the comic, when he's actually, his fists are all charged up, all iron fisty. But yeah, man, I thought it looked pretty good, and I'm excited for it to come in March.
Yeah, it did. It looked really impressive. I like the, like you said, the fact that they managed to work in a visual effect for the Iron Fist, and that the effect actually looked good. I mean, I was wondering if they were going to go for like the whole flaming fist and make his whole fist on fire and things like that. It doesn't look like they've done that, but maybe they will pull that out for the show. But either way, I was actually quite happy with the glowing fist because I think it fits with the aesthetic that they've kind of gone with for the previous Marvel Netflix shows, and that they kind of show powers, but it's done in an understated way and not in a big kind of flashy visual way, which obviously is governed by the fact that they don't necessarily have access to the budget and technology to pull off big visual effects, but it works anyway for what they're doing. But certainly the show looks absolutely exciting. It really does. The martial arts choreography looks really good. It's by the same team who do the martial arts choreography for Marco Polo. So if you've ever watched that series and seen some of the martial arts in that, you get a sense of what it is we're going to get from Iron Fist. Richard, this is your baby, man. So I'm going to let you take the stage and run wild with it. So do your thing, sir.
Okay, all right, remember... Okay, so since this is going to be a Luke Cage-esque kind of podcast as well, remember, I think today's episode is going to be no swearing. So we're going to be using terms...
Well, we'll run through the ground rules before we actually get to Luke Cage.
No, let me tell you right now, because if we don't use it right now, like when I start to talk about Iron Fist, it's going to be swear-fueled. Yeah?
Well, you just have to restrain yourself and not get all sweary about Iron Fist.
Okay, anyway, listen. Iron Fist, that's my baby, man. That trailer, that's what I want. Oh my god, I'm actually lost for words. Anyway, I'm so excited. Out of all of the Defenders, or out, the Netflix TV shows, I mean, they've all been amazing. Daredevil season 1, Daredevil season 2, Jessica Jones, and then obviously Luke Cage. But this is the one I've been looking forward to the most. As I mentioned earlier on, I've actually gone back to the Matt Fraction run that he did a few years ago. And I think I'm actually going to finish. I'm going to reread the Kyle Andrews run that happened after that, which has led into this Iron Man and Iron Fist, which is happening now, and the Iron Fists series is going to be starting, I think, next month. But like you guys have said, the trailer has literally just stayed true to the essence of the character. Like I said, Marvel have just got it down pat. They've got that formula. If it's not broken, there's no need to fix it. It doesn't have to be anything super fantastical, especially considering it's a TV show, so there's going to be some form of budgets. But what you see is perfect. I'm liking the fact that that I don't know if you guys have noticed, but I'm not sure if they even did it in Jessica Jones, but I do know that Marvel's, it seems like from the trailer of Iron Fist, they're going to be having another hallway fight scene. And like I said, if not broke, don't fix it. And I can't wait to see what that hallway fight scene for Danny Rand is going to be. For someone who's as proficient in the martial arts as he is, as compared to the hallway fight scene that Daredevil has, which is a lot more. I'd call it like martial arts scrappy fighting. I mean, so far we haven't really got anything from how they're going to be portrayed as characters on screen, but they're setting up the characters pretty much well. And you get to see the glow. You get to see the fist of the fist of the Iron Fist glowing. You get to see the Dragon of Kunlun tattoo on his chest. You get to see Madame Gao, who I've been waiting to see since bloody Daredevil season 1. So that obviously means that the Steel Serpent is going to be coming in at some point. Yeah, I'm just super excited, and I'm telling you now, like, March cannot roll on any sooner. That's how much that's how excited I am. So yeah, let's just leave it at that.
Okay, cool, man. Okay. Well, that was important. It was important for you to get that out of your system. So that's all good.
Cool.
Sorry, 1 second. We're just experiencing a bit of feedback problems here. Sorry, listeners. Got a few gremlins here in the system, so it looks like we're having a few issues. Okay. I think that's cleared up now. Okay. Well, that's the price you pay for recording on Google Hangouts. But yeah, no, the Iron Fist sounds like it's going to be an amazing series. It really does. And at this point, I've got a lot of faith in them because of the sterling work they've done with the 3 shows they've produced so far in Daredevil, Jessica Jones, and now Luke Cage. So there's every reason to believe that this should be as good as the others that have gone before, and should have the same kind of quality and the same aesthetic, but still be its own thing, which it looks like it very much will be. So yeah, there's definitely one to look out for, man. What else was there? We also had a trailer for John Wick Chapter 2. John Wick, for those who haven't seen it yet, if you haven't seen it yet, why have you not seen that film yet? Like, what are you waiting for? But John Wick is a film starring Keanu Reeves. It's directed, I can't remember the director's names off the top of my head, but they are 2 people who worked on the Matrix trilogy, both as visual effects supervisors, and they've now graduated to directors. And the film is just amazing, absolutely amazing, the first film. Highly recommended that you watch John Wick if you haven't done so already. But we've got a trailer for Chapter 2, and the trailer looks awesome. Looks amazing. So, guys, what did you think of John Wick Chapter 2? Excited for it? Rich?
Yeah, of course. Like you said, I think John Wick, the first one, I think it's easily probably one of the best action films that have come out from Hollywood in the last few years. I mean, yeah, there's nothing that can be faulted about that film. I actually watched it again. Thursday. I watched it again on Tuesday night. And I was saying to the person I was watching with that, even on paper, when you look at the synopsis for the story, it shouldn't work. But then you sit down and you watch it, and you just go like, model fiddle faddle. Keanu Reeves is definitely back to his best. Since The Matrix, I think he kind of took a dip with the man of Tai Chi. I think that was a bit of an ego trip for him, to tell the truth. But the trailer that we were given, if anybody, as like just said, if anybody hasn't seen John Wick, go and see it. But anybody who has seen John Wick, basically this is just back to business for him. I think it's just now we're really going to see what John Wick is about. And I remember watching this person and thinking to myself, like, are we going to see what made John Wick such a myth and a legend? Was it just going to literally just continue with him just going about his business? But either way, from what I gathered from this trailer, I'm happy with what they've given us. It's Keanu Reeves just kicking ass and and just being Keanu Reeves. So yeah.
Cool. Alvin, what did you think?
Yeah, man, I thought it looked good, man. Like, as soon as it kicked off, with him getting measured up for that suit and all that, and they asked as to what kind of fit he wants, and then he just says tactical. From then on, I was just like, this is going to be fucking badass. Just a good trailer, man. Just see him doing his John Wick thing, being all angry and shooting people and that. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing it. Like, the first one was a surprise to me, because I watched it not expecting much at all. And what I got was actually thoroughly enjoyable. And it was nice because, like, you know, with a lot of kind of movies that we see, because obviously being comic book fans and that, it's all about bigness. That's what all the action's about most of the time. Whereas this is just like a guy with guns and he's good at hand-to-hand combat. And they somehow make that in without having any buildings collapse. So yeah, I'm all for like a second John Wick. And I hope it just doesn't just redo what we did previously. I hope we get to see more of like the kind of customs of the hitmen and their underworld and the way that they do things and all that kind of business. So we get to see a lot more of that. And yeah, apparently in this one, I think he's got a bit of a rivalry going on with Common, who's also a hitman as well. So yeah, no, it looked good, man. I can't wait to go and see it.
Yeah, I noticed Common in the trailer as well, and I'm a bit of a fan of Common. Not so much of his acting, but of his music, yeah. But yeah, I noticed him in the trailer as well, and I was surprised because I don't remember him being cast in the movie or when that was announced. Do you know when that happened, Al?
I have no idea. I didn't know he was in it either. I'd heard other castings for it. But yeah, I had no clue he was in it until the show up. I was like, oh, Common. And there was obviously another person who's in it who I didn't know was in it. But I won't say because I think I want people to see the trailer and get to that point and then union of sorts.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a real callback there, isn't there? Yeah, that's
well, I think the other name that I really wanted to shout out, he seems to be making kind of big waves. I think come by 2017, she's going to be in at least 3 action films. But it's Ruby Rose.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she's going to be in this. She's going to be in Triple X 800 or whatever number it is, which I am still looking forward to seeing, by the way. And she's also going to be in the new Resident Evil, or the last Resident Evil.
Is she in that?
Yeah, she's in that as well.
Bloody hell.
Yeah, you know, I give her props. She's got a good agent, man. She's got a good agent. But I'll tell you, here's some trivia about the John Wick film. You know, there's one like dark-haired bodyguard that he fights against in the club when he first finds Alfie Allen's character. I think that was Keanu Reeves' stunt double for the first Matrix. Who, the one who gets, especially when he's fighting against Agent Smith.
okay, right.
Okay, well that's what you mean. So because that's the director then, because one of the directors, Chad Stahelski.
Yes, that's his name. Yeah,
that's him. Yeah. And I didn't know that he was also the stunt double. He was the person that took over for Brandon Lee on the Crow when Brandon Lee unfortunately passed. Yeah.
Wow.
He was the body double. So yeah. I'm looking at his little filmography now, and he's done some good stuff, man. Like I think he was kind of even involved with the Bourne Ultimatum stunts. So there you go, man. So anybody who hasn't seen John Wick, you know, if you like the Bourne films, this is right up your alley, man.
Okay, cool, man. Well, they also confirmed that they're doing John Wick Chapter 3 as well. I don't think they've announced the planned release date for that yet, but basically there'll definitely be a third film in the series. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see how that goes down when that comes out. So we also got out of New York Comic Con, we got confirmation that The Punisher is getting a solo series and that it's actually started filming. Pretty much every news website had spoiled this information anyway, so it wasn't really a surprise to anybody who was watching. But yeah, we got confirmation of that, which is great. I'm really looking forward to it myself. We don't really know too much. I mean, I know they've cast an actor in a specific role already. We don't really know too much about what the plot details are and things like that, but we do know that Deborah Ann Wolf's character from Daredevil was returning as well, Karen Page. So she'll be part of Punisher as well. Sorry, go on, Richard.
No, I just said that, yeah.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. Yeah, so we got that as well, so we know that it's coming and that's on the way. Then Marvel dropped some big news. They brought out all of the defenders on stage. So they brought out Charlie Cox and Kristen Ritter, Mike Coulter, and Finn Jones. And then they announced who will be playing the villain for the forthcoming TV series, The Defenders, that will be coming on Netflix. And then they announced that the villain was going to be played by none other than Sigourney Weaver, which I think took everybody by surprise, including the audience, who resorted to a wrestling chant to express their feelings. But I think we can all agree that with the sentiment of what they were chanting, because I certainly didn't expect that to come along. So yeah, I mean, like, the Defenders just went to like the top of my list of the things that I'm really looking forward to next year. It already was high up, but it's gone like through the roof right now for me. So yeah, for you guys, what did you think of Sigourney Weaver's casting, and has that made you any more interested in the Defenders, Richard?
Yeah, no, definitely. I'm really interested to see who her character is going to be. Because she's just an amazing actress. She's one of the original, like, just badasses, from the from Aliens. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm not super excited to see buddy. I know there's a few rumors floating around how she might be linked to Hydra in one way or another, which wouldn't surprise me, because I know that at one point Hydra were actually in charge of the Hand, and Fisk used to work for Hydra as well in one way or another. But that's me going into comic book land. But it's good to see. It's good to see, like, we've got some like a heavyweight actress, who can bring some how can I put it? Bring some experience to the whole series. So yeah, in that respect, I'm happy that she's on board. Definitely.
Okay, Richard, it sounded like you just took another tumble, and I'm not buying it this time that you didn't.
Okay, right. Let me see where the mic is on this computer, because I just picked up the laptop and I put it on my stomach.
Okay, because it sounds like the Incredible Hulk just ran through your living room door.
I'm not even a CGI one. It was like the Lou Ferrigno one.
Yeah, with the full-on mullet and everything. Alvin, Defenders, excited?
Yeah, man. Obviously, I was always looking forward to it. Anyway, like, I was kind of shocked because I didn't expect them to get anyone of that caliber. You know what I mean? Who I don't associate with anything to do with TV. You know what I mean? And get them to do a TV project. It must, whatever they've got prepared must be shit hot to interest her, especially, I reckon. It must be. So yeah, and I'm looking forward to what's going on. I like the fact that they're being secretive, because you don't have to reveal everything at once. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing as to what's going to go down, as to how it's all going to come together, because obviously we've got a while before it actually hits. So yeah, man.
Yeah, definitely. I'm super pumped. As I said, for me right now, it's the most anticipated kind of comic book related property that's coming out next year. I really can't wait. So yeah, fingers crossed they deliver. But I mean, as I said, the way they're batting right now, it's it's unlikely that they'll deliver a turkey. It's really unlikely that that's going to happen. Okay, we also got a Power Rangers trailer. Now, I have to confess, I was never the biggest Power Rangers fan. I did watch a few episodes growing up and stuff, but well, I wasn't even growing up. I was pretty old by the time Power Rangers came out. I'm old, listeners, for people who are listening. So, yeah, Power Rangers, I was still like uncomfortably old to be watching that show. But I know Alvin and Richard are fans, so boys, I'm going to leave it up to you to run us through the Power Rangers trailer quickly if you wish to. Alvin, you want to start?
Yeah. Oh, man, I watched the trailer, right, and then just the beginning was far too angsty, man. It just felt like, because obviously it's Lionsgate doing it. It's almost like they went, let's paint it out to be like one of these young adult novels kind of thing, and it just kind of had that kind of really angsty. Oh, everything's so bad. I'm a teenager and these are my problems. Oh, bullying and oh, I've got a tag on my freaking ankle. Blah blah blah. All that kind of stuff. And I'm just like, that to me isn't Power Rangers. Like, you don't have to be super cheesy with it, like the show was. You can kind of bit, but still have it be fun, because that's Power Rangers at the end of the day. If you take yourself too seriously and then it switches at some point to being crazy and insane and kind of like more fun, I think that would be too jarring. And if they take themselves too seriously as a whole, they've done themselves an injustice, because that at the end of the day is not why people enjoy Power Rangers. People enjoy it for just out and out super heroics. That's what people enjoy Power Rangers for. So to start with all this angsty bullshit, it's just like, I think they're playing to a certain crowd, which is smart, but at the same time, it's like, well, why don't you just stick to what the property actually is?
Yeah, I definitely got like a Dawson's Creek kind of vibe with when I watched it. So it's, yeah, I don't know. It left me a bit. As I said, I'm not a huge fan, so I was never really that pumped for it anyway. But when I watched it, they've definitely played that, as you said, Alvin, that young adult audience card. Let's just hope it's not Twilight with ninjas, eh? Richard,
Yeah.
come on, man, say something positive about the Power Rangers trailer.
Listen, I really didn't mind it. I mean, number one, I'm a Power Rangers fan. Is one of the reasons, or one of the things that got me into martial arts. And I think that people that think back to the martial arts and Power Rangers and go like, oh no, it was rubbish or exaggerated. It wasn't. You go back and you watch Power Rangers, right? And you look at, I mean, maybe some episodes were better than others, but the martial arts choreography in that, anybody who says it wasn't good, I'd like to see you do that. Yeah, that's number one. Number two, some of the best choreographers from Hong Kong working on that show. One of the most famous that I could tell you is bloody who actually did the choreography for Drive with Mark Dacascos, which you've written about, Jay.
Drive.
So, yeah. So anybody who says that the martial arts in Power Rangers isn't good, go back and watch it and take it for what it is. I really enjoyed the trailer or setup. I mean, like, to me, the original Power Rangers TV show was Dawson's Creek light anyway. I mean, like, and I don't think that was set up would work in a film. And that's just for the simple fact that when you remember the Power Rangers movie, which came out, like, I think 95 or 96. I mean, that's a prime example of why it wouldn't work. I think you're going to have to try and maybe flesh out these characters. And I think the reason why they've gone for that these adults who are too old, because if you think about it, like, Power Rangers is our generation. And can I just put out there, if you notice, audience, we never actually say our age. We just say that we're old, but we're pushing age. Yeah, so I think if they were to come with that, make it too adult, I think that'd be alienating a very, very large group of people that might go and see the film and obviously generate money, which is what they're after. The thing I wasn't happy about with the trailer was I didn't see the martial arts. The one thing that makes Power Rangers is the martial arts. Like, to tell the truth, they can make this one of those YA films, and they can be cardboard cutouts, like all those people from that film Divergent or the Mortal Instruments, which are just diabolical. But I will go and see it for the martial arts. So, at least I hope that the next trailer that comes out, there's some chop sockies in there and keep me happy, because I think that's what everybody wants to see. So, yeah, that's what I have to say on the Power Rangers film.
All right, cool, fair enough. Yeah, as I said, I'm not overly keen, but hey, it's a movie. I'll go and see it. I'm not going to not go and see it unless I see a like absolutely horrific second trailer. But yeah, we'll see what they serve up for that. Okay, and then last thing to touch on from NYCC was the Walking Dead season 7 teaser footage. Alvin, you're the big Walking Dead fan amongst us. Did you see the footage, and what did you make of what's to come for season 7 from that?
You know what? I can't remember if I did or not. I think I did. I saw something, but it was really quick though. Was that the right thing or not? Or
well, basically, for those listening who haven't seen it yet, essentially what they put out is what looks like to be the immediate aftermath of when Negan has killed somebody
that's what that
within the group.
was on Instagram. Okay, all right. No, I didn't see that, but I did see a trailer. I think a recent one that has also been shown on TV. But yeah, I mean, The Walking Dead for me, it's just like I'm when it comes on, that's when I'm excited. Before that, I'm not bothered about like all the shit that people are saying, like as to what's going on and what's going to happen next or anything like that. Like I'll see the trailers and I'll enjoy it, but literally when the show comes on, that's when like I start to get emotional and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. But on the day, like you won't even be able to control me. I'll be going nuts.
All right, cool. Yeah, it was basically the footage was the immediate aftermath, and it was Negan kind of confronting Rick, and Rick basically says something along the lines of, "I'm going to kill you, not today, not tomorrow, but I'm going to kill you." So then Negan kind of drags Rick off into the RV, and then the scene kind of cuts there with like a slow pan down onto like a load of blood and stones and things like that. There's loads of like theories floating around the internet about whose blood it is. Some people have said they've seen a wedding ring in the blood. I couldn't make it out myself, but some people are pretty insistent that there's a ring there. So they're suggesting that means that there is probably only 2 characters in the lineup who could die at Negan's hand. We'll have to wait and see, I guess. I mean, as I said, people have been speculating left, right, and centre about who he's killed. I wish they'd just get it over and done with already, because as I've said on previous podcasts, I'm just tired of the way they love to just tease the audience, but in a really cheap way. But yeah, Richard, did you see the footage?
You know what? I haven't. It's been on my list to see, but you know what? Like I said, I like The Walking Dead, but after like what's this, season 7? Is it season 7?
Yeah, we're approaching season 7 now.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think,
After 6 seasons of give or take like the same thing happening, hey, let's make friends, and then those friends turn out to be like weirdos, and then they fight, and then they move to a next patch, and you know, I don't know. And then after how they ended like the last episode for the last season, which they really didn't need to do. I'm not fussed. I'm like I think I'm on the same lines of like you guys, that when the season starts, then I'll be in front of my TV watching it. But as to being excited, I'd rather watch reruns of like The Littlest Hobo right now, man. That's how I feel about it. So yeah,
that would probably be more exciting at this point. All right, well, that wraps up like the key stuff from New York Comic Con. So let's get down to the nitty gritty, gentlemen. Let's talk about Luke Cage. Now, before I begin, I want to lay down a quick ground rule for those of you who are listening live and for those who are listening to the audio podcast later on. Tonight, in honor of one of the characters in Luke Cage Pop, we're going to enact a swear jar policy. That means basically we're not allowed to use any swear words whilst talking about Luke Cage. So you're going to hear lots of alternative swear words, and if you're familiar with the Power Man and Iron Fist comic that Marvel currently published by David Walker and Sanford Green, then you should know that Luke Cage's character doesn't swear in the comic book. Instead, he uses alternative words. So that's what we're going to try and do. So you guys are down with that, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool. First off, I think we've had quite a few questions on social media, what I have anyway, when I've been putting out the feelers about this. And quite a few people have asked, who is Luke Cage? Because obviously this TV show is going out to a massive audience, to people who may never have heard of Luke Cage, the comic book character, before. So I think it's important that we kind of give people some grounding for those who don't know. So which one of you guys wants to start off on that? Alvin, do you want to go?
Yeah, well, okay, well, what, you mean like the origins of...
Yeah, I mean, basically just if you go through like sort of the canon, quote unquote canon.
Yeah, from the actual comic. All right,
comics.
So yeah, Luke Cage is a character created, I believe in the early 70s, around the blaxploitation era of movies, and he was, well, just a black man and needed money, and so he was a superhero, and he would do things for money, later becoming a hero for hire with obviously Richard's love interest. Iron Fist, Danny Rand. And yeah, that's pretty much it, really. I mean, he doesn't have the most kind of the deepest kind of like backstory in terms of like creation of his character and that, but it was just influenced about by like what was going on at the time and what people were into. And you know, he had like a fro, a tiara, a yellow shirt, and blue pants, and that would have been a cool look back then. And that's pretty much it. Lives in Harlem. It's from the hood, and yeah, that's him in the most basic kind of description as to who Luke Cage is and how he came about.
Yeah, that look that Luke Cage used to wear, man. Trust me, that would have been killing it in in what was the old disco nightclub called in New York? Was it Studio 66?
Studios,
yeah. Sorry, Rich.
Studio 54.
54, that was it. Sorry, Studio 54. Yeah, yeah. Believe me, he would have been killing it out there. So yeah, context for the costume is important to remember. But yeah, no, I mean, you covered most of the kind of basic stuff, really. Yeah, as you said, he was somebody who, in the comics, he used to run with a street gang. He was set up by somebody who was his friend and sent to prison for a crime that he didn't commit. Whilst he was in prison, he volunteered for a program which was, I believe, it was trying to recreate the super soldier serum that Captain America was given. But the actual process was sabotaged by a racist prison guard. And as a result of that, he ended up with these powers. He ended up with unbreakable skin and with superhuman strength and enhanced endurance and things like that as well. And so he then went out and decided to kind of use these powers that he had basically to pay the bills, as Alvin said, because, you know, he was a broke Batman in Harlem. So that's where the kind of hero for hire comic book came along. It is worth checking out some of those books because they really are a true slice of 70s kitsch. And if you're a fan of kind of retro style storytelling and things like that, then you know, it's definitely worth a watch. Obviously, consider that you're reading it in a modern context, so there's certain things in there that are not going to be very relevant and are going to sound kind of weird when you read it, but it is a lot of fun. So definitely check it out. Richard, do you want to add anything on top of that?
No, you guys are pretty much just banging the nail on the head, really, to tell the truth. Yeah, it is what it is. Big, strong black guy wearing disco clothes, just renting his abilities out. That's it in a nutshell.
Yeah, that is pretty much it. Okay, so, well, as you know, man, we got blessed by Cheo Hodari Coker, who is the showrunner for Luke Cage Season 1. And I say blessed because, man, this show is amazing. Absolutely amazing. I loved it. I mean, for me personally, I mean, Alvin and Richard know this, but I'm a big Luke Cage fan. In particular of the work that Brian Michael Bendis did with the character when he kind of reinvented the character towards the back end of the 2000s, towards the end of sort of 2010 and things like that. He really took the character in a different direction, and he gave the character a lot of flesh and a lot of backstory, and he made the character more human in a way that other writers up until that point hadn't really done. So I was really, really looking forward to this series. And when I saw Mike Colter in Jessica Jones and I saw his performance in that and how the character was treated, you know, that only served to get me even more excited. So when the series came out, I was like, yes, I have to watch this. And I managed to watch the whole thing within, I think it was about 2.5 days, because I did it pretty much over a weekend. So yeah, it was pretty much 2.5 days that I managed to watch the whole series. And my mind was just blown from start to finish. But we're going to get into all the details and things we liked and the things we didn't like in a moment. So guys, first things first. Where does this rank for you personally in terms of a list of the MCU Marvel Netflix shows as they currently are? Where would you put Luke Cage on the list?
Ooh. Okay. I would put it behind. Okay. are we going by seasons? Because remember, Daredevil's had 2 seasons, right?
Yeah, I mean, Daredevil's at an advantage in that Daredevil has had 2 seasons now. But I mean, depending on your opinion of each season, you can kind of rank it in a sense that you can separate the two. So you can separate season 1 from season 2 and create your list that way.
Daredevil season 1 and Luke Cage season 1 tie for me. And then it's Daredevil season 2, and then it's Jessica Jones. I'll put it in that ranking order.
Cool. Alvin, how about you, man?
Yeah, for me, it's kind of the same, but I'm not gonna cop out and say it's a draw. I am gonna put Daredevil first, but only because there's some stuff towards the kind of the way that Luke Cage ended, which I felt was a bit weaker than the way Daredevil season 1 ended. So I'm going to put Daredevil first. But Luke Cage probably depending tomorrow, maybe. For me, it could be number 1, so it can actually change. But for now, I'll say Daredevil, Luke Cage, Daredevil season 2, and then Jessica Jones.
Cool. Okay. I've been trying not to cop out, so I'm going to try and not cop out. As things stand at the moment, for me, Luke Cage has to be number 1. Daredevil season 1 would be number 2, and in fact, I would put that joint second with Jessica Jones, and then bringing up the rear would be Daredevil season 2 for me, purely because Luke Cage, I think, is a bit more ambitious than Daredevil season 1, and I think it hits most of the marks that it's aiming for. Daredevil season 1, if I'm being hyper critical, kind of played it a little bit safe. They didn't really take any risks as such with the storytelling, or I didn't feel that anyway. That's not to say it's not excellent, which it is, but I feel like Luke Cage took a few more risks and was a bit braver in some of the things that it did in terms of its storytelling and its characters and so on. But yeah, for me, it would go top. Daredevil season 1, joint second with Jessica Jones, because I'm like you, Alvin. It would be tomorrow. I might change my mind, but at the moment, that's how I see it. And then Daredevil season 2 would be third for me. Just purely because Daredevil season 2, I think I really enjoyed it up until the point where the hand came in, and then it started to feel really repetitive. But that's just for me personally. And I didn't, there was quite a few things I didn't like. But anyway, this is not about Daredevil season 2. This is about Luke Cage. So yeah, we've got our list. So let's move on. Listeners, if you have your list or your favorites, then you can add it in the comment section and tell us how you would rank it and why. And yeah, just let us know, man. Run wild with it. All opinions are welcome here. So, guys, what was the things that stood out the most for you from Luke Cage? What were the things that you really, really enjoyed in particular? Richie, do you want to go?
What did I enjoy in particular? You know what?
Yeah.
Just Luke Cage. Like, I mean, obviously we just did the whole thing of like which season you think stands up, numbers wise and everything. And I don't know, I did, make Daredevil season 1 joint place with Luke Cage, but I'll put my hands up and I'm biased. I'm a Daredevil fan. Not say that I'm not a Luke Cage fan, but I do agree with your points where you say that it really did take a lot more risks with Luke Cage. And out of all the series that have come so far, I mean, they did it really well with Jessica Jones. But Luke Cage they made him a man. That's what it was, which is something that Marvel have been doing with all of their characters anyway, right? The costume or the powers always come second to the actual person who owns them. But like with Luke Cage, it was the whole thing that, especially where he has that power where it's not something that you can always physically see, but he's just that guy, and he's and I like the fact that they just presented him as that guy who doesn't want any trouble, but something which I'm sure we'll touch about later on is that, but he has that look Have you ever heard that term? Like, you've got a face that someone just wants to slap. Like, he just has that look of just like, just being a menace anyway. But yet he has this power. And I think they really took that, they could have made him, just that, gone a really stereotypical way of trying to portray this person, and they didn't. And I like that. I haven't seen somebody portrayed like that who I can identify with in a really long time. And that's the one thing that made me stick with this show. Like, it really rung bells with me for that. Like, and I think, like you said, I've always known of Power Man. I used to read him when I was a kid, when he was a Iron Fist anyway. They've really taken those points that Bendis did with him, and and what Bendis did, and made him such a lovable character in the 2000s, which is probably during that period he was probably more popular than Captain America. And I think looking at this TV show and the response that it's got, I think it's definitely heading that way as well. But it was just Mike Coulter as Luke Cage. That's the thing that just kept me engrossed in this whole series.
Yeah, definitely. Mike Coulter was just, he was a guy that I was semi-familiar with from his appearances on The Good Wife, because he has a recurring character on that. And he was in the Halo film that they did as well. What was it called, Alvin? Was it Forward Unto Dawn?
No, Nightfall, Halo Nightfall.
Nightfall, that was it, sorry, yeah. Forward Unto Dawn is the animated one, right?
No, Forward Unto Dawn was the first web series that they did.
Right.
Before Halo 4 came out.
Right, gotcha. So I remember him from Nightfall as well. But, he wasn't really somebody who was like a well-known character, a well-known actor. But as Marvel and Netflix seem to be doing really, really well, they kind of go out of their way to pick people who, have a somewhat of a profile, but aren't necessarily, the biggest name or somebody who brings, box office, quote unquote, with them. And I think what really works well with that strategy is it means they can kind of mold the actor into the part that they want. And it means that the actor is more willing to kind of give of themselves to the character fully, and you find that with every single series they've done so far, with Daredevil, with Jessica Jones, and with Luke Cage. With Mike Coulter, they've been able to get a guy who obviously has a lot of natural charisma, a lot of natural charm, a great presence, but is also a very understated kind of actor as well. So that means that the strength of the dialogue kind of comes through, and the strength of the direction comes through whenever he performs. So he's definitely, he's cemented himself for me as a real rising star, So his performance was just amazing, absolutely amazing. Alvin, anything that stood out in particular for you?
Yeah, for me, there's two things. Number one was the first obvious thing to me is that there's different kinds of black people in it. You know what I mean? It's not just the freaking gangbangers and then that's it. It's like you've got politicians, you've got businessmen, you just got normal folk, just a plethora of different types of black people. I don't think you often see that on TV, especially with US stuff. It will be that there's black people, they're in gangs and shit. You know what I mean? And that's pretty much it. And it reminded me of watching The Fresh Prince, because obviously you've got Will, who's obviously like working class black, and then you've got obviously Aunt Viv and the rest of the family, and they're kind of upper class, and they're living the good life, and they're different from Will. You know what I mean? It was kind of just reminded me that there's different kinds of black people. Be that in a show where there is black people, and it just kind of just reminded me of that. I was just like, why can't it? And it doesn't seem forced either. It's just all organic, you know what I mean? And all the characters are just played brilliantly anyway. That, and also another thing that stood out to me is there seems to be this message about kind of fathers or male role models missing from people's lives. And because of that, people end up kind of getting into stuff that they probably shouldn't get into and isn't going to aid them in any way. And that seemed to be a running theme throughout that I thought was quite interesting to see, because I don't think it's really mentioned much or tackled in much things. But yeah, that was another thing that I thought was quite well done, and you also saw the consequences of it. That's pretty much it for me.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Before I get into your points, though, put some money in Pop's swear jar because you swore twice just then.
What? What did I say?
You said frickin', and then I'm pretty sure I heard the S-bomb. Rich, did you hear that?
I don't know, but you said the F
Freaking
word as
isn't
well.
swearing.
But put money in the swear jar as well.
Freaking is not swearing.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
Hold on. Okay, hold on. We're gonna break it down, nice and simple. If you were in church, would you use the F word?
Which F word?
The F-R-I. Yeah.
Alvin, that stumble gave you away, man. It gave you away. Put the money in. I'm going to put my money in, so you put your money in.
All right. I didn't know that. I don't think that's a swear word, but all right. It's swear.
Okay. Would you say it in church?
That doesn't prove nothing, though.
Would you say it in front of grandma?
Freaking. No.
Right,
Probably
so
not.
swear word.
Whatever, man.
Pop's jar is going to be full by the end of the night.
I'm gonna get caught out.
I can feel it.
It's gonna be like that scene from Jaws when he's like, "We're gonna need a bigger jar."
Yeah, very much so. Very much so, man. But yeah, no, you raised a lot of good points there, Alvin. So yeah, we're definitely going to have to break all of that down because there's a lot about race that this show says and deals with, in a very, very clever and very smart way. I found a way that kind of I felt doesn't really alienate the audience, but makes its point. Which is, one of the reasons why I love some of the risks that they took with the show. What were the memorable kind of characters for you guys and the scenes that kind of stood out specifically from the series that you can remember? Rich, you want to go first?
My man Shades. Listen, Shades was slicker than he was slicker than a rich man's taxes. As somebody said to me. Shades definitely just stuck out. I've only known the actor to be in Sons of Anarchy, and in Sons of Anarchy he played a bit of a wuss.
Yeah, Theo Rossi. He's awesome.
Yeah. But this one he just came in smooth and was just calculating, and yeah, just perfect. Him, definitely. What's his name? Diamondback. Diamondback came in. Listen, he came in like how the Winter Soldier came in Captain America. He came in like a force of nature, and took over the show. So I think definitely big props need to be given to that guy. Cottonmouth, I think when I think back to it, he was a good character, but kind of started to trail off towards the end. So when spoilers abound. So when he is actually written out the show, you're kind of like, well, you know what? You obviously didn't have what it took to do what you needed to do. But then the other person, Cottonmouth's cousin, what's the name? Mariah? Is it Mariah, right?
Yeah, Black Mariah, yeah.
Black Mariah. Alfre Woodward. She went to a whole new different type of level of damn it, we can't even swear, can we? A whole new level of
Skullduggery.
That's it. Thank you very much, Jason. Holy Hanukkah. Thank you very much. Yeah, but I think for all the characters that stood out for me the most, Shades for definite, because he was a new character and he really, really held the screen. Claire Temple, we finally got a chance to see her really, really shine instead of being a secondary character like she has been in the other TV shows. This one she had a lot more work to do, especially since she starts to become like the love interest for Cage as well. But I'm definitely going to stick with Shades. Like Shades did me proud, man. Like he would make me become a super villain if I had superpowers. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I definitely hear you with Shades. It's funny because I was watching it around the same time as a mutual friend of ours, and they didn't like Shades at all, like as a character. They just felt the character wasn't very effective in the story, and I could kind of understand where they were coming from when they were saying that, because his role is very subtle, but it's really only until right towards the end of the season when he enacts a few things that really kind of solidify his status as, okay, this guy is cold-blooded, like he really doesn't give a monkey's what anybody feels. That was close. He really doesn't give a monkey's what anybody feels or thinks. As far as he's concerned, it's interesting because in the show they make out like, well, I got the sense that he kind of sees the world kind of like a chessboard almost, and people are just pawns, and you just move them around depending on what best serves your needs. And because it's done in a very subtle way, in a very understated way at first, I could see why this mutual friend of ours wasn't that convinced by him. But as I said, once you get into the show and you really start watching the show, you begin to pick up what it is he's actually doing here, and you think, that is why that is why he is who he is. That's why he's risen to the position that he's risen to. And towards the end, that's why kind of Diamondback acknowledges that he's a bit of a threat to him now. So he really is a really well written character, and very, very well played by Thea Rossi, I thought. Fantastic. One of the characters that stood out for me was Misty Knight. Misty Knight is a character I'm a big fan of, and when they cast Simone Missick in the role, I wasn't too sure where they were going to go with it because I'd never heard of her before at all. Apparently she hasn't done much acting work, and nothing really significant. So I was kind of like, wow, they've really gone like out of their way to find somebody who's completely, not on the radar in terms of Hollywood casting agents and things like that, or somebody who's in the public eye. But apparently when Jeff Loeb and Cheo Hodari Coker were doing screen tests, she was one of the first people in to test for the role. And rumor has it, as soon as she left the room, they were kind of like, yeah, we're done. Like, we don't need to find anybody else. We've got our Misty Knight. From the moment she kind of came on the screen, I was drawn to her. She has a tremendous kind of presence about her, and just naturalness on the camera that is very, very difficult to pull off. It's really hard for anybody who listens to this who's got acting experience. It's hard to come across as natural on the camera because human nature and the way we've kind of been raised to be aware of when we're being filmed and what the implications of being filmed might means that we kind of react in a certain way to that. But she was just natural, just so natural. Every line she delivered it with with the right amount of poise, with the right amount of emotion, with the right amount of feeling. And it was just captivating to watch. And then that early bedroom scene, I was like, whoa, okay. All right. I think I have myself a new woman crush. Nice. But it was just a really, really, really enjoyable performance from her. Really, really great. So I enjoyed her. But there's so many kind of moments. So we'll get down into the kind of moments, the dialogue and the scenes and specific scenes and things like that we liked as well. There was one particularly powerful scene which goes back to what you were saying earlier, Alvin, about race and the way that the show handles the issue of race. I don't know if you guys remember the scene. I think it's at the beginning of the episode, just after Pop is killed. Sorry, spoilers for anybody listening, but you should know we're going to spoil the living heck out of this, so too bad. But do you guys remember that scene where Luke is scoping out the front house where they've Cottonmouth has stashed, I think, a lot of his money and his weapons? I think it's in the Atticus Crispus building. Crispus Atticus building, sorry, yeah. And Luke is kind of observing the building, and a young kid comes up to him with a gun and points a gun at his head and says, something along the lines of, "What you doing here, nigga?" or something like that. And Luke kind of gives this monologue, well, not even a monologue really, this diatribe to this kid, where you can kind of see, the events of what's just happened to Pop have been affecting him, and he's been kind of considering his position in this scenario up until that point. And he kind of says, "Look, kid, I've had a long ass day, it's not been a good day, bad things have happened to me. Pop was trying to stand up and do the right thing, he got killed while I was laying in the cut doing nothing." And he said, he basically turns to the kid, grabs the gun and puts it to his head, and he says, you know, you think you see a nigger standing in front of you? All right, well, shoot me then. Shoot me. Come on, nigga, I ain't got all night. And it was just like so powerful the way he did it, and the kid's reaction as well. Like the look on the kid's face is like, what the hell is going on here? And it was just the power, the way that which Mike Colter kind of delivered that scene and delivered the frustration that Luke had been feeling up until that point. And also showed that he was at his tipping point, basically, the point where he's going to embrace being a hero and he's not going to hide away in the shadows anymore. That, I thought, was just fantastic TV, just brilliant the way they'd done it. I mean, it was as good as anything you'd see in, you know, The Wire or any other show like that's highly rated. You know, it was fantastically well shot and fantastically acted by the two of them. And that really, from then on, I was like, this show is beyond, you know, just a good comic book adaptation. This show is just brilliant TV, full stop. You know, so that was a moment for me that really, really stood out. Was there any specific scenes, Alvin, that you can think of that stood out for you like that? Or
specific scenes? Well, the specific scene I'm thinking of also has my favorite line as well. So it's when we've first kind of properly been introduced to Diamondback, and we actually see his face and who he actually is. And it's the bit where him and Luke are in the street, and Luke says to him that I loved you like a brother, and then obviously spoilers. Diamondback responds with nigger, I am your brother, and then he just shoots him. I was just like, I wasn't expecting that, and I was just like, proper. A, that line was badass, and B, just like I just didn't see that coming. I didn't see the story like once Cottonmouth got obviously disposed of, and I had no idea as to where it was going to go. And then with the whole Diamondback stuff, that's what it's kind of really about in a way. It's kind of like Cottonmouth kind of leads into Diamondback actually being the big bad of the series. And that's when I was like, okay, this is going in a completely kind of just swerved and went in the next direction, which I actually quite liked.
I love the kind of the juxtaposition of the two villainous characters, or the two main villainous characters. There's actually three, as Richard pointed out. Mariah Dillard, Black Mariah as she's known in the comic books, turns out to be quite a villainous character too, and really comes into her own after the point where Cottonmouth is killed. But I really love the juxtaposition and the contrast between Cottonmouth and Diamondback, because with Cottonmouth you had somebody who was quite calculating, who was very cold, but still very methodical in kind of what he did and the way he kind of approached his business and protected his business. Whereas Diamondback was just kind of like a ball of barely concealed rage. He was just like, he was just, as Richard said, you know, he was like a force of nature. He came in and literally shook everything up. And I think that's exactly what the show needed at that point. It needed somebody to come in and completely shake everything up and shake the foundations of what had been laid before. And he did that superbly. The way he just kind of dived into the show and dived into that role was phenomenal. And that scene in particular, was just brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. So, it's that is definitely one of the standout moments for me as well. Rich, for you, were there any specific moments or dialogue that springs to mind?
But before I say it, hey, does the N-word count as the use of a swear word?
No, because we're quoting the show, so
Listen,
I think we'll give that a pass.
You crooks. You're crooks. Shades and Diamondback, that's what I call you. Shades and Diamondback. You know, one of the scenes that stood out for me, and is, I know there's always that defining scene where the hero is like kind of like just propelled it in that direction. And I think for me, it's when the first episode, the whole lead up to Luke Cage just going about, just doing his business and just being a normal guy. And then is when when they reach the episode where Pop's barbershop gets shut up, and the last thing that where there's like when Pops basically says the mantra that he says, that he found that he says to every single child or everybody in the hood. And it's just, and like I said, like Alvin was saying, is that whole thing about, you know, about fathers missing and having that guidance, you know, to push you forward. So when I think back to that bit where you see like Luke Cage just holding him, and then later on down the point when I think he talks to the guy or he talks to somebody else, and one of the guys says, well, you know what, the bullet probably ricocheted off you and hit Pop. And I just think back to it, and it does kind of just grasp at my heartstrings when he just says that final mantra, and then like Cage just holding him, and like he can do anything in the whole entire world. He's super strong. You find out he doesn't really age, but the one person who's taken him in and given him this chance and allowed him to lead somewhat of a normal life has now been taken, and he can't do anything. That was a really standout scene for me. The scene where Mariah kills Cottonmouth and Shades just comes down smooth like Ciroc vodka, and literally just talks her into like, okay, listen, this is what happened, this is what you're gonna say, and blah 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 blah, and we're gonna go have McDonald's. So, those scenes really stood out for me. But off the top of my head as well, nothing else. But I'm sure there is, but I just can't think of it right now.
That's cool, man. We'll get to it. We've still got time. But yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I mean, I love those all of those scenes that you guys picked up, man. They're just all part of what made that show so compelling, really, and what made it so awesome. Alvin, earlier you mentioned about the lack of fathers, and that's an interesting thing that they did with the show, because the big theme that was jumping out for me was legacy. And people kind of dealing with the legacy of either their own actions or actions of others that were done to them, and kind of how you live with the legacy of what you've got. For me, with the character of Luke Cage, it was kind of the legacy of, he's dealing with the legacy of his father not really kind of being much of an influence in his life once he got in trouble with the law. He's dealing with the legacy of what happened to him in prison and his experiences there and what he went through, and the consequences of those experiences, and whether or not he should fully embrace what he has become as a part of that, or whether he just wants to have the quiet life and the peaceful life. And then with Cottonmouth and with Mariah Dillard, it's the legacy of their childhood, and the fact that Mariah was pushed to be this student to to study the law and to learn the law, because that's what their mother, who was, wow, she was a monster in that show, my goodness. Their mother was absolute. I can't remember her name now, it's completely escaped me, but wow, she's just, if you haven't seen the flashback sequences, go back and watch the flashback sequences of that. They're immense. But yeah, it's her and young Cottonmouth kind of dealing with this overbearing, toxic parent who has decided that Cottonmouth is going to be a gangster whether he likes it or not, even though he loves music, and he obviously has a talent for it and wants to pursue a career in that. His mother has said, no, you're a man, so you're going to become a gangster. It's as simple as that. And I loved that scene where Pistol Pete is killed, where Pistol Pete is kind of like saying to the young Cottonmouth, look, I was the one who was pushing you to get out of this life. I want you, I see your talent, and I want you to kind of do, to use your talent for something good. I don't want you to become what your mother wants you to become. But then Mariah enters the picture and is like, you deserve everything that's coming to you. And then we realize that Pistol Pete, who is the mother's partner, I believe, a business partner, has actually been abusing Mariah. It's hinted at that she's been sexually abused by him. And so this whole scene plays out, and you're just like, what the hell is this? Like, how could there be such a screwed up family? And yet it's very real, in the sense that, people have gone through things like this before with their families, have been through, unfortunately had to deal with toxic parents and the legacy of that. And the show really takes its time to play out those kind of things and those elements, and to show that, you know, there is always going to be a consequence to whatever action and decision you make. So whatever you choose to do, you know, that's fine. You can choose to do that in the moment, but understand that there will be consequences of it. And even in the scene where Cottonmouth is killed, you know, the consequence of that was, or that came about as a consequence of him arguing with Mariah about her trying to, you know, distance herself from the business, and him kind of saying, no, you're as much a part of this as I am. You know, you can't kind of hide behind politics and your law degree. You are what you are, just like I am what I am. So it really, you know, the show really takes its time to play that out, which I really, really loved. It just shows that Marvel kind of are really invested in these characters and in telling their stories in an effective way, and telling their stories in a realistic way too. And you know, that's been one of the things that has continued on from Daredevil and from Jessica Jones into Luke Cage, is giving this sense of realism and grounding these heroes. You know, as you mentioned earlier, it's you know, it's almost like the character comes first and the powers come second, and that's clearly the path that they took with Luke Cage, and I think it worked brilliantly for it myself. So yeah, that was something that definitely stood out for me. We've got to talk about my girl Claire Temple as well, because Rosario Dawson is just the queen, man. Like she just is, like she's just the queen. Like you know, I run out of things to say about Rosario Dawson. She just is, she's so amazing at everything. It's just like, you know, whatever she does, it's just amazing. But I love her Claire Temple because, you know, she's feisty, she's independent, she doesn't really, you know, her story doesn't really rely on any other character to go anywhere, so to speak. And in Luke Cage, I love the fact that she's, as you mentioned earlier, Richard, she's really given a chance to kind of shine and to kind of flesh out the character of Claire Temple. Also, I've got to mention this before I forget, I love the fact that they called her Night Nurse, that Sugar called her Night Nurse in that as well. That was just brilliant. I love that. That was fantastic. I was just like, yes, because, you know, we've all been waiting for somebody to call her the Night Nurse. Literally, we've all been waiting for it. And finally it happened, and I was like, yes, thank you. Thank you. But she's just great. She's so good in this. You know, I checked on IMDb before we recorded this, and apparently she's only in like 3 episodes, and I was like, really? It doesn't even feel like that, because it feels like...
Are you sure?
Yeah, apparently it's only 3 episodes, they're saying. Because I don't know if that's her screen time added up. If you add up her screen time, it amounts to 3 episodes, because I'm sure she pops up in more than that. But yeah, apparently in terms of screen time, like, it's 3 episodes that she's in, and yet it just like, it feels like she's in it from start to finish, because A, she flows so naturally with all the other characters that she encounters, and B, as said, she's just so good. Like, Rosario Dawson's just so good as an actress that you really don't notice the fact that she wasn't in it from episode 1. So yeah, she really kills it, man. She just kills it. She's just, she's brilliant, man. I've run out of like positives to say, because she's just my queen, and that's the end of it, really. So yeah, where did you see Luke Cage fitting in with the Defenders and the overarching story, in terms of what we're getting with regards to the Defenders? They've kind of hinted at things like the Hand, but we've also had mentions of this particular company which is producing a lot of experimental drugs and things like that, which I believe is called ICH, or is it IGH? I can't remember. Is it IGH, guys?
I actually can't remember.
No, I'd need to watch the show again.
Yeah, I think it's ICH. It's the one that's in, they mention it a lot in Jessica Jones, and it's kind of hinted at in Daredevil Season 2 as well, I believe. Okay. It's mentioned in that as well. But it seems to be this company that is creating these drugs from where we don't know, and it's kind of mentioned in Luke Cage as well, particularly with the doctor who is treating Luke Cage at a certain point in the show, that he gets his drugs from this place, or it seems to be hinted at that he's getting his drugs from this company. So I'm wondering whether that is going to be somehow tied into the Defenders, and maybe that's where Sigourney Weaver's character comes in. But what do you guys think so far in terms of, if you look at like the three shows as, you know, one big story, where do you see that leading us to? Rich, you want to go?
Yeah, well, I think definitely. I mean, this is just off my head from like Easter eggs that have been laid. Definitely the Hand, I think, are going to play like a big part as the main villains for the Defenders. I think Punisher's going to be in it as well. I think he will be in it at some point, if not for the whole duration of the series, but at least at some point. I'm thinking to myself as well, like, when you look at the series that's actually coming out, it almost feels like everything that's happened in between Daredevil season 1 and what's going to be coming in Iron Fist season 1, everything has just been a filler-inner to lead to this whole Defenders thing. So I can only assume that I think Danny Rand coming back to New York to take over Rand Industries might somehow be linked with this whole drug thing, and maybe everything that's going to be happening in New York since the incident. Just like, you know, just the way how you see how what's been happening in Harlem, and the way how they're trying to go about their, like, you know, Black Mariah's trying to go about her business, and then you go to, like, you know, Hell's Kitchen, and you see how Fisk is trying to go about his business. So I'm trying to think, is this one thing that's all going to be linked to the Hand, and it's just one big plot that the Hand have just been laying like little, you know, strands and just stringing people along just to help them, you know, do what they want to do. So I think that might be heading that way. Anyway, am I answering the question? What was the question again? Have I got enough for the tangent?
It's all right, man. You've done a Richard special. Yeah. Well, basically, I mean, you've kind of covered it anyway. But it was more in terms of Luke Cage specifically. Was there anything in that you saw that could kind of lead us or give us any clues as to what was to come with the Defenders, with the way that show went?
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. So the introduction of Colleen Wing. I mean that's my most favorite. That's my favorite Easter egg that I saw in the Defenders, and that was literally just at the end where you see Luke Cage, you know, being taken away, and then in fact the whole end of Luke Cage, I think is basically is a real eye opener to what's going to be coming up next, and it reminds me somewhat of like the end of Winter Soldier. Whereas, like, when you see the majority of, let's just use the Marvel films as an example. The Marvel films usually have that, like, you know, like the little, you know, end credit sequence, which is a God given. It's like,
the,
you know,
tag scene, I think they call it.
Yeah, like a cut scene, and then it takes you, then it shows you what's going to come next. But like with the Winter Soldier, it had ramifications of what happened in that film, and it's the same thing where you got that whole you got Trouble Man playing by Marvin Gaye, and then you see the Winter Soldier go in here. You see Black Widow in court, and all of that seems to have like a big fallout. What leads into Civil War. With the end of Luke Cage, I mean, like, my most favorite thing at the end scene is Claire Temple, like I said, walking past that lamppost, and she takes a ticket off a poster, and it's for Colleen Wing's martial arts dojo. So you know for a fact that she's going to be, you know, she's next going to appear in Iron Fist, which is going to then lead into the Defenders, which, like we've already discussed, that the Hand is probably going to be, so, you know, maybe the main villain, if not one of the main villains, which was hinted at all the way in Daredevil season 1. The other thing that I liked was Cottonmouth. No, not Diamondback. Sorry, Diamondback in hospital. And then you find out that the doctor treating him is a person that treated Luke Cage, who managed to find like the missing CD that was that Reva kept. So, you know, so you kind of got all of these things. Now I think, now that all these people have had their own miniseries, so to speak, and when it comes to Defenders, I think that their universe is going to just get a little bit bigger and make but and just show how small they really are, and that's really gonna, I think, propel them as to how these people are really gonna have to. These 4 people are gonna have to band together and join forces to fight against a bigger bad than they've ever seen. They're just it's a Joss Whedon thing. It's Buffy. Like, Buffy teams up with this person and that person, and come by like season 7, she's teamed up with X amount of people, and she's fighting against all the bad people, and then they all live happily after. That's it. That's what I think is going to happen.
Okay. Alvin, did you want to add anything, man?
I don't have a clue, man. Like, I have no idea. Like, all I know is that there's things being weaved throughout each show. Some more obvious than others. That I reckon are probably going to play an important role. Just to mention, also, I like the fact that in Luke Cage, we saw some Hammer Industry stuff. So, like, obviously that called back to Iron Man 2, which probably a lot of people in anything to do with Justin Hammer whatsoever, apart from, what was that one shot that they did that was on the Thor DVD?
Hail to the King.
Yeah, that one. But yeah, it was good to see that. Obviously, that company's still about. They're selling black market, obviously, goods to criminals and all that. But that's just a side note. But yeah, no, I have no idea. I do think that there's going to be a lot of little things that they've weaved in that we not know about that are all going to kind of come together, and maybe there'll be some kind of big reveal of some sort, and it'll be something major. But all I can say is that these shows and the way they've linked them all together, obviously with Claire being like the Coulson of these Netflix shows, it's just been done so well that wherever they're going, they already know as to how they're going to get there. It's just up to us to have to wait to obviously see it and see their master plan, because they definitely had a master plan in place, because this has been done brilliantly so far.
Yeah, I have to agree with you, man. I loved the Hammer Tech references. That was just that was great, because with Hammer it was kind of like just used in Iron Man 2, and then that was it. They kind of just disregarded it, as you said, apart from Justin Hammer appearing in Hail to the King. So the fact that they actually called back to that in this show was really, really good. The callbacks to the Avengers were quite cool as well. I liked the kid kind of selling the DVDs of the incident and Blu-ray, saying, you can get it in 4K, man. I liked all of those kind of little Easter eggs and those little touches. Diamondback's suit is almost note perfect to the comics as well. And I was really kind of thinking, like, how are they going to pull this off? Because the problem with Luke Cage being a 70s comic book character is that a lot of his enemies are just so ridiculously outlandish that they just don't perform well on the screen. So I was thinking maybe they'll just, not bother. But they actually did the suit, and it looked perfect. And I couldn't believe they'd managed to pull it off without it looking stupid as well. That was just incredible. And yeah, I like the end scene as well with the doctor treating Diamondback in hospital, because we know that means Diamondback is getting his powers now. So they set things up very nicely for a second season there. Let's hope they get one. Touch wood. They haven't said anything yet, but I think we've got a good chance of getting one if they were able to break Netflix servers, because so many people were trying to watch Luke Cage at once. Then I think Netflix should be happy with the numbers they're getting. So, yeah, hopefully we'll get a second season in there. But I also liked the Colin Wynn reference as well. That was a nice little touch too. Yeah, that was very clever. And it just hands us over nicely into Iron Fist. But in terms of things for the Defenders, yeah, it was difficult to make anything out as said, apart from all I noticed was the references to this company, this ICH company. So I'm thinking somehow they might figure into things. I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm just speculating here, but yeah, maybe they might figure into things in the Defenders going forward. So yeah, that'll be very interesting to see. Definitely very interesting to see. So yeah, man, oh my God. We've gone so long and we've not even talked about the music. Like the music in this show is is immense. Like, I knew it was going to be good when they had Ali Shaheed Muhammad as the music supervisor. For those who don't know, he was a producer for Tribe Called Quest. I knew the music was going to be immense when he was involved, but I don't think I was ready for how immense it was. Like, the way that they use music to kind of tell you exactly what is going on in every scene is just unbelievable. Like, and even the original compositions that they put together, they're so good. Like, there's no kind of reliance on auto-tune or anything like that. Every composition uses real instruments, real orchestras, and it just adds so much more authenticity and so much more of a feel of Harlem to the show. And I've never been to Harlem before in my life, and I watched that show and I felt like I'd been to Harlem, and that was a large part down to the music and the clever way that it's done. Was there any specific kind of music beats that stood out to you guys? Because I know Cheo Hodari Coker said, he wanted it to feel like listening to an album when you watch the show, in that you kind of, absorb every track as we used to do before the days of streaming and iTunes and everything else. So was there any kind of specific tracks or songs that stood out for you in the show, Alvin?
Yeah, like the original kind of like music for the show. So like the theme was done by Adrian Young, who you may have heard his stuff in Black Dynamite.
Yeah.
And and obviously there you go. Black Dynamite is obviously a blaxploitation kind of sent up a parody. But if you listen to kind of like the songs, they all sound like blaxploitation period pieces. It's like crazy, because I first thought, no, I'm dreaming this up. But especially during the episode where we see kind of Luke's kind of origin in prison and that, which was very blaxploitation, with the whole kind of like with the racist prison guard and all that kind of business with the redneck prison guard. You can, if you pay attention to the music, and it is like 100% kind of like 70s but subtle, you know what I mean? It doesn't seem out of place or anything like that. But my favorite track was, what's he called? Is it called Jadena? Long Live the Chief.
Yeah, Jadena. Yeah,
that was a tune. Yeah, I like that tune a lot, man. That was sick. And there was a lot of like good, pretty much everyone who appeared in the what was the club called?
Was it
Paradise,
Cotton's
right?
Paradise? Sorry, yeah, Paradise.
Paradise?
No, it's based on yes, I think it's called Paradise Club, but it's based on a historic Harlem nightclub called the Cotton Club. Which I think was around for a very long time. But I remember in one of the interviews with Cheo Coker, he was saying that basically Paradise Club in their show was like the modern version. So it was like if Cotton Club had survived to this day, this is what it might have looked like, and these are the kind of artists you might have seen perform there. But yeah, sorry, go on.
Yeah, but pretty much every artist that appeared in those scenes, absolute tunes. Absolute tunes. It was good. And yeah, music played a very important role, like more so than kind of any show. Just again, it's about variety. Those different kind of things, those old stuff, those new stuff. It's different flavors, different beats. It's so good, man.
Yeah, Rich, was there anything on the soundtrack that stood out for you?
You know what? Going back to let's say really, really good scenes, but it's the one that you said, Alvin, and the reason why it did work was because of the music and the visuals as well. Is that scene where he comes out of the chamber, and he's got the tiara, and he's got the shackles on, and he's in that Luke Cage 70s outfit. It just sounded like it just really did sound so.
Yeah, when he's breaking out of prison, if you listen to that track when he's breaking out of prison, man, that's proper like blaxploitation music. It's
beautiful, but then it also just rings symbolic. Whereas like, there's also that whole thing that he's stuck in prison, and without trying to sound political, but it's almost as if he is breaking the shackles of slavery where he is. Like he's just this big black guy who's been sent to go and fight, and then and it's almost like you can feel him uprising as he breaks off the shackles, and and then he starts to smash the wall. And it truly, the song that goes with the visual, it truly does just portray him just running for his freedom. That's the best, and that song that plays in that background, it really, really stuck with me. Adding and plus the theme tune. The theme tune is just
Yeah,
like
man.
I'm still humming it now, like even when I'm at work and stuff, you know.
Mm.
But that scene where he comes out of the chamber, yeah, perfect, spot on.
Yeah, no, that's an excellent point that you brought up because I agree with you 100%. I think that was a deliberate kind of way of showing that they'd broken out of slavery with that, you know, the slavery allegory and the slavery kind of I guess the symbolism of it, you know, as you said, Rich, the fact that this black man has broken the shackles and has physically broken free from this place that is imprisoned him, I think was very deliberate. And the music for that scene, yeah, it fits it perfectly. Also, Alvin, yeah, I agree with you about Jidenna and Long Live the Chief, because that was a perfect song for that scene. I love the fact that they kept cutting to Cottonmouth's face while Jidenna was performing on stage, and you could kind of see, like, I think, if I remember rightly, they kind of cut it alongside with scenes of his goons going around roughing people up and were going around collecting more of the money and smashing up storefronts and things like that. And he had that kind of look of menace, like, yeah, you know, this is my war tune, basically. This is my war anthem. I'm getting ready for war now, you know. And that was very clever. I loved that. I can't believe they got out the Delphonics as well. I was like, where did they pull out the Delphonics from? And the real Delphonics, like, I thought they were dead.
And that was a tune as well.
Yeah. But they pulled that out, and I was like, nah, man. Wow, they pulled out the Delphonics and brought them out on stage as well, and they killed it. They did all the sidestep routine, you know, the 10-minute sidestep routine before somebody starts to sing. They did all of that. That was amazing, man. That really was like, it just, like, I watched that and I was just like proud to be a black man. You know what I mean? Like, it was just, I don't know why, but that I watched that and I was just like, damn, it feels good to be black, man. It just feels good. I can't explain why I came to that feeling, but you know, that's the way it left me feeling, man, for sure. But yeah, the music in every single thing was just perfect. It was just absolutely on point. You know, with every kind of thing they've done. The tune with that Method Man does, because Method Man has a cameo as well, and that cameo is handled brilliantly. It's so funny the way it's done. It's like, it's you. It's like, nah, man, it's you. Like, you know, the way they play it out is really good. And the what's it called? I think it's called Bulletproof Hero, is it, or something like that? Is that the name of the track?
Yeah, Bulletproof Hero.
Yeah. And, you know, that's a really good track as well. And the lyrics are quite meaningful, both for the show and for kind of the politics that surround the show and the issues that are confronting a lot of black Americans at the moment. You know, it's just perfect. And, yeah, whoever it was who put that together is just a genius, man. An absolute genius. So, wow, just brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Yeah, so the music really was the perfect compliment. So to Adrian Young and to Ali Shaheed Muhammad, we salute you, man. You guys did a superb job in a way that nobody has done on a TV show before. So credit to you, man. Credit to you. All right, well, we've got about 6 minutes left, so I think we can start to bring this one home. So guys, do you want to give me a score out of 10 for Luke Cage and wrap up with your final thoughts?
Who's going first?
Well, you spoke first, so you can go.
I knew I was going to happen. I'm going to give it a 9, just because, like I was saying earlier, there's some things about the final episode. Like, I felt the climax happened way too early, but obviously the climax kind of starts at episode 9, the end of episode 9, and then so by the 15 minutes in, it's done, kind of. And then the rest is all kind of wrapping up, and that took a while, but interesting, because obviously Claire's like, I've got a friend who's a lawyer, and everyone's like, oh, okay, Matt Murdock. Somehow, at some point, maybe in Daredevil season 3, we're going to see Matt Murdock, well, get Luke Cage out of jail. Maybe not, who knows? But it's going to happen at some point in the future. But yeah, it's just the way it just ended. I was happy with the way it ended, but didn't climax for me in the right way. So I'd have to give it a 9 just because of that.
Cool. Fair enough, man. Fair enough. Rich?
Yeah, I'd give it a 9 as well, just because 10 would mean that it's perfect, and nothing's perfect. As good as this is, I disagree with Alvin on that. I think the ending was perfect. I think the ending literally is, it's going to lead into everything that's probably gonna pop up in the Defenders series, or maybe pop up in Iron Fist and then Defenders. Yeah, I don't really have any bad things to say about it. I do agree with you about the last episode where, like, after that fight scene, everything's kind of just like, hey, we're just kind of hanging around, like, hey, what we're gonna do now? Let's just leave some plot points, that can lead to other places. But I'm not complaining about that. But yeah, amazing. Anybody who hasn't seen it, go and peep it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll echo you guys' sentiments. A 9 from me as well. Just because, as you said, Rich, nothing's perfect. And there were one or two minor things that didn't quite work for me, but overall, I thought it was absolutely fantastic. I think the cast just excelled. All of them did. Everybody from the major players to the smaller characters were almost note perfect. Because of the fact that the show was brave enough to tackle what is a very divisive and controversial issue, and do it in a way that was kind of open in dialogue without necessarily being judgmental, and just getting people to think about some of the real world problems that the Black Americans face, because it was so gritty as well, and because it was so intelligent in the way it handled its character arcs, and because it was not afraid of dealing with things like child abuse and violence within communities, and how the effects of that can be felt for years and years. It was just fantastic in the way they handled all of that, and it was anchored superbly by Mike Colter as Luke Cage. So, yeah, 9 out of 10 for me, for sure. And one thing I've got to mention before I finish as well, I got a serious kick out of seeing Misty Knight with her afro and with like an actual costume as well.
Oh,
Because they did a really good job on that, because I was thinking, like, I wonder if we'll get a glimpse of Misty Knight in her costume, and we did. We got her in her costume with her afro, and I was like, you know what, you guys, you've made my day, man. You made my day. But yeah, I really like that. I did at one point think, I wonder if we're gonna get the robotic arm in this season. But then I thought, nah, because especially at the point where she gets shot in the arm, and Claire's kind of saying this thing of, she could lose her arm, And I was thinking, I wonder. But then I thought, nah, they're not going to do it so early. It's too early for that. There's time still. But I do think, Rich, that we might be moving closer to a team up between Misty Knight and Colleen Wing, though. I don't know why, but I just get that feeling that's in the plans, because you said earlier that the universe is expanding a little bit more, and I think that might be where they're going.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like you can just see it. Like you can just like Iron Fist is basically going to be the closing chapter for this. Let's call this phase 1, even though there's 2 seasons at the level. I consider everything that's come out right now this phase 1, and then I think like the closing chapter or the bookend for phase 1 is going to be Defenders season 1, and then and you can just see this is basically what they've done with the Marvel universe, cinematic universe, where everything kind of just led to Avengers, and then you get to Avengers, and then you just realize that then you see like Thanos at the end, and you're just like, wow, okay, there's a lot more out there than what we're used to. So yeah, I could definitely see. Like I said, as much as it's getting bigger, everything's really going to start coming towards the center, and really becoming close knit. But Misty Knight and Colleen Wing hanging together, Danny and Luke Cage hanging together. Daredevil just running around sleeping with women because he uses his blindness as a as a
his pickup
tool. I can't all of that stuff. Kind of mean, yeah, I can't all of it, man.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure, man. Exciting times ahead, people. Exciting times ahead. Marvel, Netflix, thank you. You are making Free Black Geeks very, very happy right now. So keep it going, man. Keep it going. All right, listeners. Well, thanks very much for watching the show. Those of you who did watch the show on YouTube, and if you're listening on SoundCloud, thanks very much also. If you like what we're doing, then please do subscribe to our YouTube channel. All you got to do is click on the subscribe button, and you'll get updates whenever we post new content. And we are going to be posting new content soon, so make sure you keep your eyes peeled for that. If you want to get in touch with us, you can send us an email. Our email is wulongtalkspodcast@gmail.com, but I'll make sure I put that in the description box on YouTube as well, so everybody's got access to that. Guys, do you want to give anybody your social media details and let them know where they can holler at you?
Go ahead, Alvin.
Oh, why am I first? I was waiting for you, man. Yeah, you could catch me on Twitter and Instagram. My handle on both of those is at BigA85GL. And you can find links and hear me say sometimes interesting stuff, weird stuff, and occasionally boring stuff too.
And you've also got your YouTube channel up as well, haven't you?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I post stuff. You can find links to like YouTube videos on the Twitter you will anyway. But yeah, check those out. They're all right. They're kind of lazy, but you know, whatever.
Cool. Thank you. And Rich Kid, where can people find you, man?
Yeah, on Instagram under Rich Reviews or Rich_Reviews. Twitter Rich_Reviews. Obviously, you know we've got the Wulong Talks. Woo_long_talks Instagram as well, where you can find me and Jay. And yeah, and that's it.
Cool. Thank you, man. And as always, you can also find us on our blog/website, which is wulongtalks.com. So we've got lots of content on there at the moment. We will have a full written review of Luke Cage Season 1 will go up shortly. That's been requested. So I will put that up on there. And I think, Rich, you may do a bite-sized review as well?
Oh, yeah, that's coming. That's definitely coming.
Cool. So we'll get that up on there as well. Okay, well, as I said, thanks a lot for joining us. Please share this video out with anybody who you know who might be interested in it. And also make sure you check out our SoundCloud channel as well. If you prefer to listen to audio broadcasts rather than using YouTube, then everything we do is up there. So you can check out all of our podcasts on there. All right, that will do it for us. I'm going to say good night. Alvin, say good night.
Night, peeps.
Richard, say good night.
Live long and prosper.
Why the Star Trek reference, man?
No, I'm just saying, like you guys just say good night. I'm like, hey, well, you know, I'm all about the Zen. Like, hey, you know, live long and prosper. You know, enjoy your Friday, which is coming tomorrow. I don't understand. You just made a big thing out of nothing. Okay, good night.
Okay.
Good night. Are you happy?
Well, no, it just seems like you were trying to make us look like dicks because we just were going to say good night, and you had to throw in the Star Trek reference.
I'm not going to say nothing. What do you have to do? More money into the square jar. More money into the square jar. Yeah. Mother Fuddle, Sweet Christmas. Blonde filth. Bad person.
All right, well, it's good night from me, folks. Sweet Christmas to y'all. And we'll see you again in 2 weeks with a very special podcast where hopefully we'll have a special guest joining us. It should be Halloween themed as well, so for those of you who like Halloween stuff, check that out. We'll be back in 2 weeks. Peace.